Random. You must know this, Jim. You basically, it's got to be nighttime, and you ring a doorbell, and then you run, and you hide. And if you have brothers that have calyx in their hair like this, then you collect some things in the brown bag, and you light it on fire, and then you ring the doorbell, and you run. And they open the door, and they see a little fire in the thing, they go to step on it. It's not a nice way to live. That's pretty random. Any other theological questions you can answer?
I don't really have a question. I just want to tell you as a soldier, a sister, and a surgeon that I'm not wearing my flag incorrectly. The flag is upside down as a signal of distress. So it's my way of being very subtle in the world, but when people ask me questions, it sparks a conversation with many people about what is going on in our country. So here's my one question. Could I have love? In this time of social undistancing, I would just love to have a hug from Sister Dede.
A blessing? A hug.
Certainly there's a decent question.
I think it's because you're making them go up to the mic.
Okay, let's make it then we'll go outside of the class.
Thank you, sisters, for all you've done for the whole pro-life cause, trying to help instill common sense in people's lives. I have been involved with pro-life issues to one degree or another ever since Roe v. Wade. And now, in my older years, I've become more aware than ever before, although the Lord did inspire me years ago when I marched for life to carry a specific sign, because I could perceive what was happening among the whole life issue scene. And my sign used to say, babies first, you next. And we're there. A lot of people don't realize that. But every year for the last 5 or 6 years, we have been battling physician-assisted suicide, which will quickly morph into euthanasia, either voluntary or involuntary. And I think we're in a test case now with this whole COVID thing. And, we have choices to make to uphold life or not uphold life. So I'd like your comments on this. And I was looking for your combat boots, but I don't see them right now. Anyhow, I'll talk to you later about that. I appreciate your comments on the other issues, like infanticide and IVF, and now this physician-assisted suicide, which is going to be promoted again. In fact, I just saw something this week from Compassion and Choices for the physician-assisted suicide bills. They intend to pass it next legislative session in Maryland. So we have to be prepared, and we have to be there to speak with our legislators. So I'd appreciate any comments you have on that, sister. Thank you.
The boots are in the basement, and I use them when I mow the lawn. But I can't mow the lawn anymore because I've been told by our Mother General that that's not sisterly. When the Catholic institutions go, the rest go, and I think that's where we have to defend. I know that Georgetown University Hospital now has the university has a new dean, and it shows a picture of him with his husband. This is at Georgetown. So in these different institutions where we're losing the value of human life at every angle is we're the frontline warriors at every level, Catholics that is. So when people have lost that, then that's when we start to have these issues occur. So for example, in Belgium, the brothers that served, that had a hospice care center in which they were euthanizing the people who were very ill. And in England, it's rampant in England. I have a friend who's shared some personal experience where she had to be in her father's bedside who had Parkinson's because they were actively trying to withdraw his meds or not treat his urinary tract infection. And she'd be calling me overseas. And I would tell her what she'd have to do and get her physician just to call in antibiotics so her father wouldn't have a high fever and could be treated properly. So it's really, we just have to, again, it's dim, it's dark out there, but we're the light. Christ is in charge. We just have to continue to fight the good fight and pray and thank God for excellent priests like Father Meeks. And, the Lord's in charge. And just speak truth. Don't be afraid to speak truth. And that's why when I heard about Father around when he gave that beautiful homily, and then he got hit hard by negative rhetoric, but because he was speaking the truth, with love, great love. I loved his demeanor. So we just have to maintain that stance. And even if it means that we're going to become martyrs, like Saint Stanislaus today, who excommunicated the king and then got murdered by the king. This is not our heaven. This is just temporary. There's something far greater to look forward to. Please God, we must stay in the state of grace and keep the joy within us. As my brother the priest says, what do you call a grumbly Catholic? Protestant maker. So we have to be joyful and optimistic and honest.
Hi, sister. Thank you. Thank you for your talk and your inspiration. And I guess I don't know how to formulate this question, but it comes from the idea of vocation and being, I will 25, but I'm not. And, but I think one of the great misconceptions and also the complacency that we see within the church, but within society, is that we don't believe that throughout our lives we can be called to different vocations. And hearing you speak and knowing the struggle of vocation, how would you guide even those of us who are older into the next vocation, which I think has to do with what you're talking about today? That there are many of us who at some point may have been called but kind of backed away for fear. And now I'm in another phase of my life where I've been a professional all my life, and now I hear, it's time. I'm asking you to go. So is there something you can tell us about listening to the vocation?
It's an easy answer, at least for me. That is the most blessed sacrament. Our founder said it was before the most blessed sacrament that I found the love of Jesus and the power of that love. When Mother Teresa started out on the streets of Calcutta in her new vocation as the founders of a beautiful community, the Missionaries of Charity, she was having adoration once a week, and then she said they weren't getting vocations, so she geared it up to every day, an hour of adoration. And I've spent a lot of my discernment process through my life, in making directions in which direction to go, where to do this, what residency. Everything was before the most blessed sacrament. And even if you just spend 5 minutes and put the Ignatian way of just in a simple fashion, the pros and cons, how this could glorify God would be the pro, and how would this not glorify God, and whatever decision, and you'll be able to see for the Blessed Sacrament, just 5 minutes, what He's speaking to you to do, heart to heart. When I had just come back from California, I was working, it was 2000, Cardinal Hickey, who'd been communicating with me, so then here I was now, ready to do what God wanted. It was sort of my thing. I had to be, finish my residency, be board certified, because I wanted to give, so I was board certified in family medicine and general surgery, because I wanted to give the best to the poor. I wanted people to say, oh, she's not serving the poor because, or she's serving the poor because she couldn't get a job anywhere, she's not board certified. No, I wanted to give the poor the best. And Cardinal Hickey, so at that time, it was 2000, he asked me to spend a half a day in prayer and a half a day before the Blessed Sacrament, half a day serving the poor. So when I came back, I could have moved in with my parents and have a beer at night and watch Fox News. I would have had the greatest life in the world. But the Missionaries of Charity were close friends and still are. I lived with them for a year and a half. And they have many little, we're in Washington, they have a big house, and they have beautiful chapels, simple chapels. So I literally did what His Eminence wanted me to do. I spent a half a day in prayer. And in those days, I would go to the Catholic Charities Clinic where I work and volunteer now. But to keep my surgical skills up, I would volunteer to go overseas. That's where I would do a lot of mission work, mainly in Kenya. And go for like a 5-minute spot to really, I could drum up a lot of cases in that 5 months that most surgeons would do in a year because the volume was so high. So it was just that's how I kind of balanced my vocation as a doctor and trying to hear what the Lord was calling me to do. Because not everyone's called to go into the religious side. And I think a lot of people are being called and can't hear because of the electronics. And I find it easier, maybe I'm wrong, but I think men do better with their vocation hearing calling than women. Partially because we do have that hormonal thing in that we want to, whether it's motherhood or whatnot. So the Eucharist, spend time, because you only look 23, but if you want to spend time before the Blessed Sacrament, and whatever pops in your brain, I'm sure it's the Lord giving you some thoughts. And it's not a question of what's a good decision. They're all going to be good. What's the greatest that will bring Him glory? That's the key. What will give God the glory? It may be just the humble little work to be little. Janice always says to be little and to do little things with great love, as our little flower used to say.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much, Sister Dede. My name is Jay Waltham, the leader of 40 Days for Life here in Owens Mills. I want to thank you and Father Ed for having this. If you guys don't know 40 Days for Life, it was our first campaign in front of the abortion mill in Owens Mills, and I was out there from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. on all those 40 days, and one day 38. We have 3 abortion mills in Baltimore County. That one in Owens Mills, one in Overlea, and one in Catonsville. And after 38 days, our abortion mill in Owens Mills will be shutting down. So, it's not always easy being out there on the front lines, I had some questions, I applaud you for your powerful voice and the strength, but at the same time, it's so gentle, and we have to be careful when we're on the front lines, because there are so many angry people out there, and indeed people that the young women that go to get abortions, they're scared and a lot of emotion, they're angry, and for us, I tell our volunteers, we have to always, we're going to catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. So I guess I want to ask you if you've been on the front lines, if you've prayed at abortion mills before. Two, if you'd be interested, after this one closes, I'm going to go to another one, and if you'd be interested in joining me in praying in front of an abortion mill, and also, what specifically might you respond to some of these angry pro-aborts that drive by that are cussing at you, and I've been out there with my children before, and you think they'd stop when there's maybe a nun or children around? No, they don't. So what are some things that you might respond to some of these angry counter-protesters?
Well, first of all, 40 Days for Life has done you well because you have a nice tan. If I could only look that good, I'd be up there right now. I did, I'm a very spontaneous person, and when I was in med school, my sister and I were driving down on Route 7 in Arlington, Virginia, and there was a big abortion, there was a lot of abortion, there were a lot of pro-lifers praying, and I said, Mary, stop the car. And I said, I'll be back, I'm going to go here. And I said, do you want to join me? She said, no, keep going. And so she drove. I didn't even know how I was going to get home because it wasn't that close to our house. But so I prayed. It was my first experience in praying. And I'm not that gifted with, I'm more of like the hold the rosary and pray. And I've had people like spit, because there was a abortion clinic on 16th and L, and I would just sit there and just pray, look over where the operating room was, and people would go like that. And I would just, all of a sudden my mind would go with what our Lord was going through. And I would just say, blessed are we who are persecuted for his sake. So I'd say, thank you, Jesus. I would say, thank you. You just bring me closer to my Lord. And especially the guys that are out there. Being in the military, having brothers, I'm used to, or being in the operating room where people use the Lord's name in vain, I'm kind of used to that sort of thing. Not used to, I'll never be used to it, but it's not the first time that my tender ears have heard terrible rhetoric. But when that first time that I prayed, and I didn't say anything to my mom, it wasn't until a few days later when she was looking at the newspaper, and she said, because the police came, and it was those days of threw people in the paddy wagon and all this, and I didn't, they had a lady that was ready to have a baby and everything. We were all making a lot of noise. Those were the days when, as Abby Johnson mentions, it's probably not the best way to win hearts, but that's how they were doing it. Well, I didn't feel comfortable with that. I'm sort of one that I don't like controversy. I sort of duck it if I can. And so I just sat in the corner praying, but apparently someone had my name because my mother was reading the paper and she said, were you over near St. James the other day? I said, yeah, what? How do you know? She said, do me a favor, don't wait till you become a doctor and then get arrested. I wasn't arrested, but apparently they put me down as one of those who were arrested. And so you can never keep anything from your mother, so that's the moral of that story. But I think I had to give another talk, the talk to death my father used to say, but I think I had to go meet the other group 4, but definitely the hook is coming right now. But I'll join you sometime in praying. But we have also, and I will invite you to come down. Janice is the ringleader on the days, our surgical abortion days, Wednesday through Saturday? Wednesday through Friday. And then we have a lot of Catholic youth students on Saturday on the 4th and Florida Avenue. But I love the 40 Days for Life. You guys are, you started this momentum really flying and closing the clinic.